Job security versus entrepreneurship. Why take the risk? Paul is in his final year of university and has recently been thinking a lot about what he wants to do with his life after graduation. Paul grew up hearing from his parents that he should always study hard and get good grades to get into a good university and graduate with a good degree. Dear viewers, if you appreciate the video and want to help us grow, we ask you to consider the idea of subscribing to our channel and making a donation to support us. Your support is essential for us and will allow us to continue creating interesting and useful content for you. You can do it here below, through the appropriate buttons, subscribe, and thanks. He says, I've always wanted a good degree because with a good degree, you can find a well-paid job and consequently have a good life. This is the mindset that has been instilled in many of us. For some people, it is difficult to abandon this belief because they have heard it repeated since childhood. One afternoon, sitting on a park bench, Paul began to seriously consider what he wanted to do with his life. The call of financial independence and entrepreneurship had always seemed attractive to him, but he also understood the challenges that such a path would entail. Being an entrepreneur is risky, and about 50% of startups fail within the first 5 years, Paul recently read in an online article. On the other hand, being an employee is more secure, less risky, and you receive a fixed monthly salary. While Paul was thinking about his future, one of the professors from the park decided to sit next to him. The professor greeted him, and Paul, who was still thinking about his future, greeted him back. After a brief silence, the professor started a conversation, and the two chatted for a while. While they were talking, Paul decided to ask the professor his opinion on starting his own business or getting a regular 9-to-5 job like a normal person. What the professor said to Paul forms the basis of today's video. Before continuing, if you like this video, click the like button at the bottom of the page. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, you'll miss out on a lot. So make sure you don't miss any of our videos by clicking the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications. Let's begin. While Paul and the professor were sitting on the bench talking, the professor said to Paul, entrepreneurship can be an interesting career option for those with an independent mindset and a hunger for success. The entrepreneurial lifestyle can give a deep sense of satisfaction and fulfillment in pursuing the chosen path, which is hard to replicate as an employee. However, running a business is not for everyone. Before embarking on the entrepreneurial path, it is necessary to consider and evaluate your options as an entrepreneur and as an employee. The entrepreneurial lifestyle is characterized by risk, stress, long working hours, and often loneliness. Not only do you have to propose an idea, but you also have to sell it and realize your vision. Even if you manage to realize your vision, there is no guarantee of making a profit. Think of a small entrepreneur seeking startup capital, but after a few years, they close and lose all the investors' money. On the other hand, if you are an employee, you are relieved of the burden of making difficult decisions concerning the development of your company. It may seem like little, but for most people, it is better to be guided on what to do and how to do it rather than having the headache of charting a course that everyone in the company will follow. Sometimes it can be tough, but at least you guarantee yourself a salary, food on the table, and some luxuries. If these benefits can be a reason to choose a paid job, why then are so many people increasingly dissatisfied with their jobs? According to the Conference Board, about 53% of Americans are currently dissatisfied with their jobs. But why is this so, Paul wonders. Many of us have the desire to live by our own rules and do only what we want. This impulse manifests first in the stubbornness of children and then in the strong and determined attitude of young adults. For many, this impulse then transforms into the stubbornness of fighting to achieve the good life they desire. However, this impulse is still present in some form. I have discovered that the best way to fulfill my inner desire to be myself and to be the boss of myself is to be exactly that. At first, it might not be all roses and sunshine, but even in the early dark and terrible days, you can maintain the satisfaction of pursuing what you want and what you love. Let me tell you a brief story about a boy I knew. Henry was a boy who, from a young age, wanted to be the master of his own destiny. He told his high school classmates that if the only way to make money was to find a job, he would rather go back to managing his father's horse farm. But what happened to this young man afterward? After graduating, Henry found a job at a company as a sales manager and then started working as an employee in the development department. He worked hard, and within 5 years, he was promoted to deputy sales director. Henry realized he had enough knowledge to run his own business and finally took the big step and went into business for himself. At first, it wasn't easy, and there were many challenges that made him want to give up, but somehow he managed to hold on. Today, he is fully successful. Sure, there are still difficulties, but he prefers to face them head-on rather than being stuck in the same position forever. Henry's story represents the reality of most of our lives. Some of us might be tired of the normal life, the routine of always being in the same position and not being able to make decisions about our careers anymore. But in Henry's case, instead of staying in a position where he felt stuck and tired, he decided to do something. He took a leap of faith that few people are willing to take. But it was worth it. For people who are not suited to the normal 9-to-5 work life, entrepreneurship is a shortcut. I'm not saying the process is easy, but in the end, hard work pays off. I personally know friends who have found great satisfaction in overcoming the challenges of entrepreneurship. They have experienced great freedom in being able to make decisions about their own growth, their own development, and their own business. Entrepreneurship is not as scary as it seems, and not everyone can do it. However, most people can become successful entrepreneurs if they learn the basics and are diligent enough to pursue their passion. Entrepreneurship is certainly not a bed of roses, but at least you can make decisions to make things work. There is also the satisfaction of knowing that only you can answer for yourself. "Come with us," said the professor. That afternoon, the professor took Paul to a thriving restaurant owned by his friend Tony. Tony welcomed them and invited them to sit down. "This is one of my students," said Paul. "He's not sure what he wants to do after university, so I thought you might like to share some of the wisdom you've gained as an entrepreneur." "You want to be an entrepreneur, right?" said Tony. "Yes, I do," said Tony. "The first thing you need to understand is that the life of an entrepreneur is not like what you see on TV or social media," said Tony. "It's not a glamorous life of endless exclusive parties, celebrity event invitations, chasing beautiful women, and buying everything you want. It could be, but it's not always. It's not the life that the media portrays. Sure, you can be full of euphoria, live crazy adventures, and have a generous bank account. But not always, and most entrepreneurs fail. I know many friends who tried to start their own business in the hope of making it big and becoming very rich, but ended up losing a lot of money, their long-term girlfriends, their marriages, and some even their homes. I'm not trying to tell you not to become entrepreneurs. You need to understand what you're getting into." "Don't scare that boy," said the professor. Tony smiled. "There are advantages to being an entrepreneur," said Tony. "First, you can choose your projects. As an entrepreneur, you have the freedom to set your schedule as you wish. You can manage your business according to the schedule you have set, without pressure from anyone, except your customers. There are no mandatory deadlines, no imposed working hours, no rigid schedules that you can't escape. And even if starting a business requires long working hours, it is possible to grow your business to the point where you have more time and freedom to focus on your hobbies and other activities. Second, you can become a respected business leader. You may have noticed that many employers are people who have had their employees do most of the work, but who are ultimately praised and recognized for building their business. For Paul, this may not be a popular goal, but it is still nice to be recognized as a local business leader for the impact your business has had on improving the local economy. Third, entrepreneurship can expose you to new challenges and interesting opportunities to test your knowledge and skills. When you start a business, it won't always be easy. Challenges are bound to come, and it's up to you to take the helm of your company. This can be exciting, but also scary. Fourth, you can build a career in line with your passions. As entrepreneurs, you can build a career in a field that aligns with your passions, rather than doing any job to survive. Entrepreneurship is one of the best ways to live the life you dream of by doing what you are most passionate about. Look at me, I'm fulfilling my dreams, cooking the food I love, and making people smile. 5th, autonomy. As an entrepreneur, you have very few limits to your authority and power over your company. You are at the center of all decisions and can exercise direct control based on your experience, your skills, and your familiarity with the market. Many studies link this aspect to job satisfaction. This is because many people tend to feel more satisfied if they have more control over their work. At this point, you might already be thinking about starting your own business, says Tony. In itself, this is not a bad thing, but you need to make sure you are mentally prepared. The path to becoming an entrepreneur, while rewarding, is not always easy. To succeed, you have to give your best and even more. When I opened this restaurant, it seemed daunting. I saw other restaurants filling up with customers and wondered when mine would reach that level. I had a clear plan and intended to follow it, but despite coming to work every day and cooking the best food, customers were few. I was discouraged. But this is where my entrepreneurial spirit came in handy. I continued to come to work, cook my best food, and give my all, believing that sooner or later I would be recognized and the customers would come. Well, from that moment on, it was an uphill climb and a beautiful adventure. Tony laughs. I'm not sure I've ever had a 9-to-5 job, but it's certainly not the answer to the inner need for freedom and flexibility that many people have inside them. A fixed job is less stressful and more stable, but in the end, Tony said, becoming an entrepreneur opens up many opportunities for personal and professional growth that you might not have thought possible. In the comments, share your direct experience related to the topic covered today. We want to learn more and will gladly respond to any questions. Comment to let us know how we can improve. Your like would make us happy. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video.